All right, man, it's going.
It's going for sure, man. How's it going with you?
That's not what I meant, but it's good. Welcome everybody to FlickFans. We're back.
Kind of. it's still us. Still the same.
Well, you know what I mean, man. Oh, I gotta like full screen that. Yeah, but you know what I mean, man. Like we're now on the FlickFans channel and stuff like that.
I know. It's
So
exciting shit.
that's
It's exciting
exciting,
shit
guys.
moving forward.
And since we're moving forward, guys, you know what help us out? A like and subscribe.
Yeah.
No, but like seriously though, it does help. You know, small channels. We need to grow a little bit.
Are you pissed at the quality? We are too. Help us out.
I'm getting a microphone. And we're now using Discord and OBS as opposed to Skype. So hopefully, video is a little better, and audio will get better too. And hopefully, this is a little better
Hopefully.
than Skype.
Oh man. So the movie we saw this week.
Would you like
What
to?
did we watch, Eric?
Oh, okay, I'll say it. We watched The Man Who Killed Hitler, then Bigfoot.
In that order.
That is kind of the plot of the movie. Can I just say though, I really expected like a balls to the walls crazy movie, and I was very disappointed. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was very disappointed.
That's literally what I was gonna say. I was like, it was such a letdown.
Yeah.
For that aspect of it, what I took from what I took from it basically was it was good for its own reasons, but it was like disappointing because I was expecting / hoping for something different.
Yeah.
But I liked it for a reason I didn't expect. It was just kind of, it was just a cool story over, but I don't know. It was kind of vague.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you because after watching this, I thought of movies like Good Time and Uncut Gems where things aren't super explained. It's not like this big scene where it's like, oh, Howie, right? What that was that his name in Uncut Gems?
Didn't watch it.
Oh, well, Adam Sandler's character, which I think is Howie. It's like, oh, Howie, you're doing this and this, and you've been doing it for so many years. It's like there was never that. It was just kind of like it started almost in the middle, where you just kind of understood what was happening with actions and choices and like reactions that other characters had. And this movie, I think, like was almost going for that kind of thing of like, all right, like this man, we're gonna show flashbacks, and you're gonna like get a sense of who he is, but I still thought it was really confusing, and I didn't understand. So, for those who haven't seen the movie, this man has killed Adolf Hitler during World War II. He's now Sam Elliott, old and retired, and the FBI comes to him and says, "We need you to kill Bigfoot," and which that scene I'm sure we'll talk about, but he basically says no. He says, even though I killed Hitler and he was a bad guy, I don't want to kill people, so I don't want to kill I don't want to kill anybody. And then maybe 5 minutes later, he's in the woods hunting Bigfoot, and I don't understand why. Because if
like it was such a I get that. I don't understand either because it seems like it's one of those things where I can see where they were going for, but they didn't execute it in a way that made sense.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's
you
on
know,
the
it was
script.
supposed to be one of those classic scenes where it's that retired war hero that they're like, "We need you to come back into the field one last time," all that stuff, and they're like, "I'm not gonna do it," and then it's a montage, and then they're like, "All right,
Well, I was
I'll do it."
thinking of all the movies to think about. I was thinking about Logan, where it's like, yeah, like it takes the Western kind of trope, the reluctant hero to come back, but like in all of those movies and the westerns and Logan, there's always a reason, and in this movie, there legitimately is no reason that
Right.
I thought
It's
that I
not
thought.
like exactly. It's more just. I mean, I think that it was the whole nightmare virus thing. I think he just eventually kind of came around and was like, "Oh, I do have to do what's good for the do
Yeah.
what's bad for the few and good for the many
Which,
in
by the
this
way,
scenario."
they mention in like a passing, no big deal. They also mention Bigfoot as if it's no big deal. They're like, we need you to get Bigfoot, and instead of being like, what's a
Right.
Bigfoot? He's like, cool. Like everybody in this world knows what Bigfoot is apparently, because it's not shocking. It wasn't a
No,
surprise.
Bigfoot is 15 minutes of this movie. This
Yeah,
2 hour movie, or what, 50 minutes?
it's like an
Either
hour and a half.
yeah, I
I
think
wrote
it's
it
like
down.
hour 40, something like that.
Yeah, you're
But
40 minutes though go by of absolute nothing, and then within 40 to 45 minutes that's when Ron Livingston shows up, who's the FBI guy, and asks him to, kill Bigfoot. And I was pausing it because most movies have a sort of template, if you would, of like at the 20-minute mark, like all the characters have been introduced, the main conflict has been introduced, it hasn't been obviously resolved, but like it's been put into place. And at around 20 minutes, I paused it and I was like, there's still nothing. And then at the 40-minute mark, I was like, wow. I just think it was a
yeah.
bad written movie. I think it was a poorly written movie. Because with the
Oh no,
title,
I
man, with the
totally
title
agree.
like that, they just butchered it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It just goes, it seems like they a bunch of different movie tropes
Hmm.
and then mashed them real quick into one, and also did it poorly. Like
Yeah.
they have the intense climactic fight scene that isn't intense or climactic at all, but the background music suggests that it is. And it would make more sense if this was like a funny movie and this was supposed to be goofy or something,
They
but
played
it's
it
a
so
drama.
straight. Yeah.
It's a legit drama movie, and they just yeah, it's Bigfoot doesn't even have big feet, which they do mention in the movie.
Oh
He's
yeah,
just
that's
like this
right.
man-sized. He's this man-sized, like I don't even know, kind of ghoul-looking
Dude,
hairy
he's
creature.
he's a thin. He's like an orangutan with a zombie face. He scared me.
Right, and can he? How can the big like rip apart a moose, a full-grown moose, but when he tackles and beats this frail old man, does nothing?
Yeah. Can we not though forget that there's a scene where when Sam Elliott like punches him, he grabs his arm and like a karate like move, he breaks his arm. And it's like I don't
Right.
know how Bigfoot knows karate, but that's something I wish I could have seen more. But of course we didn't because this movie is full of letdowns.
Right, the stuff that's kind of like, oh, that's bullshit, but I want to see more because yes, they had for 20 seconds.
Hmm.
That's what I'm gonna. That's an official category you can put shit under because that happens in so many movies and shows where you're just like, oh man, like that's goofy as hell, but like I love it. It works so well in this instance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like it was working really well. I was like, damn, okay, so Bigfoot can throw hands. At least there's that. Like at least it's cool looking or whatever. But then it's not.
Yeah.
It's because he cuts it real short, and he's yeah. I don't know. It was kind of a overall letdown of a movie to me.
When you see Bigfoot, Sam Elliott's character like shoots him, but he runs away, and he climbs a big mountain. He gets to the top, and it's just kind of like a wide-ish shot of Bigfoot laying on the ground, and you think he's dead, and it was the most jarring shot I've seen in maybe ever, which I don't want to exaggerate, but it was so like you see a shot of him super fast when he gets shot, so you don't really register what he looks like, and then you just see him for a couple seconds, and you're like, "That's the Bigfoot."
Yeah.
And then he Sam Elliott starts crying. He's gonna light him on fire to give him like a Viking funeral, but Bigfoot's not
Right.
dead, and he shrieks and like runs away, and they fight. Which again, sure, maybe if they had some more time to explain it, but it's like again, if he's crying, why did he agree to it? I guess it was like with Hitler, the greater good, but that was not explored at all.
No, nothing really was. I mean, there were so many things. It was a movie that started with such good potential. Like just the
Yeah,
stuff they were showing, the flashbacks to the World War II stuff. That would have been so much cooler if because he had supposedly went on this epic journey through Russia and through Germany and all that stuff, and he moved with the Germans and he was a spy and all that stuff.
yeah,
But they just do very brief flashbacks of him talking to the one Russian dude, walking in his Nazi uniform,
yeah.
and then boom, now it's the back. It's the what's it called, flashback where he kills Hitler. Cool, like
Which
that's the one.
honestly, though, I was pretty bored. I wasn't on my phone, but I was not like fully absorbing this movie. I
Right.
What you just said like kind of went over my head when there's like this big journey. I'm like, he's just somewhere, and now he's at Hitler's like palace or whatever. And
Oh yeah.
the it started off good because one of these things that kind of makes me think this was like it's unintentionally funny, but he has a watch that the hands are just a swastika. So there's no way you could actually tell time on that, and I'm like, that's really funny. Like that's an airplane joke or something.
Yeah, that is funny, but there's like I don't know
That's not supposed to be
if
that
any
way.
of the stuff was supposed to be funny. It didn't. The rest of the movie didn't seem like it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that's kind of confused me because I'm like, oh, like you see this title, and that's like one of the first things you see, and you're like, okay, like I think I get what this movie is. It's gonna be a little funny, kind of like
right.
weird and maybe absurd, and it certainly is absurd, but they play it super straight.
I liked the story that it could have been because they just briefly talk about the stuff sometimes. Like
Yeah,
that's why I know about that he went on that whole journey and everything like that because in the part where they're Bigfoot and stuff, he like tells them a little bit about that and it's the guy saying, "Oh, my grandfather told me all these stories that this happened and this happened." And then did it like all that
yeah.
happen?
Oh
Where
yeah,
was
you're right.
that?
Right. Yeah.
I was like, that sounds so cool. That's what I want to see. But no, we're gonna see him kind of half-ass fight like a man in a gorilla suit or whatever. They're just like, oh, this is Bigfoot. He's a problem. He's got he's been spreading this nightmare virus that causes this. Then he's like, damn, that's
Yeah.
pretty bad. But
Which
like,
we never see
how
the
is he
effects of,
spreading
by the
them?
way. We never see anyone like sick with this
No.
virus.
No, we don't see what it does to people. We don't hear about what it does to people. I mean, maybe that's the point is that it's a silent, like, this will go get covered up in history
Mm,
thing. So it's like preventing what could have happened and was bad and everything. But
it's fair.
why make it a movie? It's just not, it's not entertaining to watch.
No, it's super boring. What's kind of baffling to me about this movie is I was researching the director, and he has written like a short or two and produced some things, but like this movie looked like it had a decent budget up until you see Bigfoot because that kind of looked, sort of
Oh,
Um,
that was bad.
but you
Yeah.
see him like, in some truck full of chickens in cages, and they have like nice landscapes and that kind of thing, like nice places.
Right.
And I don't know really how big Sam Elliott, what big draw he is, and Ron Livingston, like, but their names, right? Like, if you see them, you may not remember their names, but you're like, oh, yeah, him. He was in like some things I've seen, and
The
like Office
ranch.
Space. Yeah, like for Livingston, it's like, oh, like yeah, Office Space, right? Like,
Right.
so I couldn't find the budget. I was really curious, but it seemed sizable, and it, as a filmmaker myself, like this weirdly gives me hope because it's like, well, if that can get made, maybe I can get something made. But at the same time, it's like, oh no, if this can get made, like how shitty is my stuff gonna be?
Right.
Because
Right.
I might
Oh
think
my
it's
god, yeah.
great, right? Like I'm sure the director is like, yes, like we did it, I nailed it. And if I ever make a movie, I'm sure I'll be like, yes, I. And then two assholes are gonna be smashing it on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So this movie definitely messed with my brain chemistry for a few days.
I mean, if just rule of thumb, if something's cool and
Mhm.
it's working and everything, run with it. Like if you have a really cool adventure setup or whatever, you could have done a whole thing about, flashback of the main character of him just going through his thing in Germany for the whole beginning of it, just to describe or even why he's like why it messed him up so bad.
Yeah,
Like yeah, he drinks alone now and everything like that, but it really just shows like okay, killed Hitler. What even I don't know what happened to that girl. I
she
assume she
died.
died or
They
something.
said it again in just a throwaway line where it's like she died pretty young from like a sickness. Like she was just sick and she died young. So I guess they never got married, and I guess that's why he's sad. But that doesn't excuse like every single thing that happened to him. You know what I
So
mean?
so then back to my original. Why does like it doesn't show
Exactly.
that he like why he has a problem with killing now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like obviously killing is bad, and when it's like the common thing when someone does it affects them and all that. But it was just like it didn't show that he got messed up from it or anything really, or how like the effects it had on per se. Like he killed Hitler, and then it just flashes back to him being old.
I was thinking about this because if the takeaway of him, killing like this man who represents ultimate evil, and as far as we know in this movie, like the rest of history happened with other wars like Vietnam and all that. So like maybe he's seeing it as like, oh, I did this, but it didn't change anything. But then that also circles back to like, okay, if you're then asked to kill Bigfoot with that mentality, wouldn't you say no because it won't actually change anything? And this movie just, I try to come up with answers, but I just get more questions with this
Right.
movie.
Yeah, because it's like, oh yeah, well that's explained by this, but it's contradicted by this.
Yeah.
Every single thing.
Yeah.
I guess as much as it kind of tanked as far as my expectations went. Well, I did like the brother character.
He was
I
nice.
thought he was too good for him.
He was, and I love that scene when he goes to talk to him, and he's like, "You're gonna do it, aren't you?" And it's like, "But why?"
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the brother was cool. The dog was cool. Did you know why when he first goes into the woods, it's like on fire, and then it just cuts to him some time later, and the woods are not on fire?
I yeah no, I have no explanation for that.
But that's what I mean.
You
Like,
know,
oh, like it looked cool, and it shows like some budget.
that was a cool visual. Yeah.
It shows like a beefy budget, right? And it's like, but wait, I think it was the idea of like they had like a Hunger Games like fire ring to contain it,
Right.
but then they just cut and the fire's gone. So I don't get it.
Yeah, I really don't know what happened there. Uh, I mean, it was a cool visual. I think it was actually the cover for the movie. As far as on Hulu, like the thumbnail for it is like him
Oh
in
yeah,
the woods with the fire behind him. I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, no, that's just another one of those things where they're just kind of like, okay, we have to make it intense because this is what good movies do, and blah blah. And they have like that basic idea, but they don't know how to follow through with it.
yeah. I think whoever was the DP did a good job, but the director, in terms of visually telling the story, and he also wrote it, so writing the story also was not great.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
I I don't think there's much else for me to say. I think it'll just circle back to, but why?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me too, this was this was an experience for sure because that was a title that like if I came across it, it was gonna in the I'd be curious. I'd be like, what happens in this movie? Like what's the story behind that? How does he kill Hitler and Bigfoot?
Yeah,
And I'm very disappointed by the answer. Also, feel I feel blue balled honestly. I feel like I
yeah.
got super blue balled.
I,
Right, because that movie, the title of it anyway, implies extreme. Like it
yeah,
doesn't
not a
like whether
melodrama.
it's gonna be an intense action, a really really goofy comedy. I just mean whatever it is, it's got to be that really hard
Yeah,
because that's what the title implies.
exactly. Not
And
some
it
crappy
didn't do.
melodrama.
It was a very boring. Very. It was like it was one of those movies that set itself as like a classic movie where you appreciate the long, like the complicated flashbacks and the long dialogue and all that stuff because it's all like super in depth and important. But it failed. As I said, it's like it's this whole movie. There are so many examples I could find. Just that I could see where they might have been trying to go with it, and they just kind of went totally out of just wherever.
Well, James, is there a movie you would recommend?
Is there a movie I would recommend?
Yeah.
Whew. As far as I haven't been watching a lot of movies lately, which is weird because of the
Mm.
I've been home more. I think I've mostly been watching just the TV shows and stuff. I'll give you a TV show. How's that? If you have Amazon Prime, watch The Boys.
We should talk about season one before season two comes out.
Right, I know. We
Yeah.
really do. We really do. The Boys it took me totally by surprise. It was just like, oh yeah, it's kind of like a weird superhero show is how it was pitched to me. It was like it's not really like Marvel or DC, it's just a weird superhero show. And I'm not gonna go in too much in depth in it because I want people to watch. It's very not Marvel or DC,
Yeah.
to say the least. How about you?
Um, Same with like movies. I watched Booksmart, which was good. I don't know why I said that. It was good. Overall, and I saw finally Christopher Robin. Finally, which was very very sweet. I know it's basically just Hook, but
Yeah.
I kind of like this more than Hook, even though Hook
Oh, okay.
is by far, I mean not by, it's by all means good as well. But I think this
Right.
movie
That's a
was,
fantastic movie.
yeah, and I'm not trying to say like it's bad because I kind of like, well, I'd have to rewatch Hook. Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I remember, and then watching Christopher Robin for the first time, I'm like, I like it better. It made me just feel warm and fuzzy because it was a very sweet and earnest movie.
Yeah.
But Hook, is more of an adventure, so maybe it's a better watch if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed both. Both were good.
Yeah, I've never seen Christopher Robin's yet.
It's
I'll
on
have to give that a
Netflix. It's a
watch.
good time.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a watch. I've been trying to watch Spider-Man, but they only have the second one on Prime. You gotta pay for the other.
That's a crying shame.
Yeah, I'm all cried out.
Guys, on that note, if there's a movie you guys want us to talk about, let us know in the comments below. And we'll be back next week with a new video.
Later.
See you.